Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching. This is me, Mr. P, and in this episode of Self-Hosting Lab series, I will show you how you can self-host your own WordPress website. So let's begin. WordPress is an open source publishing platform. In other words, WordPress is CMS platform, and CMS stands for Content Management System. WordPress is so popular that in 2024 it's been used for almost half of the websites in the entire internet. We will set up the WordPress Docker container, then we will set up DB, a database Docker container powered by MySQL, and as additional feature, I added phpMyAdmin into this Docker Compose file. phpMyAdmin will be used to connect directly into a database if you need for some reason check on the data, on the raw database data, amend, manipulate, add new records, and etc. So let's begin setting this up. I will use this Docker container, Docker Compose file that I prepared for this video. So I will just gonna copy all this Docker Compose code into a clipboard. By the way, what you see in front of you is a Memos service that has been self-hosted in my production Proxmox cluster. If you don't know what the Memos is, I already done a video about lightweight, super easy to set up, and very simple to use note-taking service. I will leave a link to that video in description below if you want to go and check that out. So I'm just going to copy this again just to make sure it's been copied. Then I will go back into a Portainer. This is a Portainer that I'm using for these self-hosting series videos. I'm going to click on Stack and I will click on Add Stack. I will provide a name for the stack. In my case, I will just write WordPress-YT, and inside Web Editor, I will paste the entire block of this Docker Compose file. So let's go one line at a time and I will explain to you what each line means. So we're going to create services, and the first service will be WordPress. I'm specifying the exact container name that I want to use instead of allowing Docker Compose file to generate one randomly. Then this container will depend on DB. That means that this container will be created, the WordPress container will be created only if DB container gets created. If there is no database, there is no point to run a WordPress, as there will be no place where WordPress will be able to store data. We will use official WordPress Docker image, and we're going to use the latest version. Next thing, we need to specify the persistent storage volume location. I want my website to continue using the same files, so I want my website to retain all the files that I upload if once I restart this container. So we need to point the location on the host side where the WordPress will store its information. I will open the terminal, and I'm already connected into a Docker series virtual machine, and inside the Docker folder, as you can see, I have two folders, Memos and Portainer. Now I need to create a third folder for WordPress. So I'm going to type mkdir space and a folder name. In my case, it's going to be WordPress. Then I will change directory, typing cd space and a folder that I want to go into. In this case, it's going to be WordPress. And now I will create one folder called website, and I know the database will require the persistent storage volume, the location to store this data. So I'm going to call this database, and that is it. So right now I have two folders. I have the folder inside of WordPress called database and a folder called the website. Let's go back inside the Portainer, and instead of path, I'm just going to delete all that and type /root/docker/WordPress/website. And I will copy this and paste straight away into the DB volume. I'm going to delete all that, and instead of website, I'm going to write database. Let's go back to WordPress container. So WordPress by default, on the Docker container side, will expose WordPress service on a port 80. And because I don't have any ports or any Docker containers using port 80, I will use same number on the left hand side. If you already have a container using port 80 on the host side, you need to change this number into something else. Then it says restart always, which means that container will automatically restart once you restart the Docker VM, or let's say for some reason this container crashes, Docker will try to get this container up and running again. And then I'm specifying four environment values of the variables. First one is WordPress DB host. WordPress DB host means that it is going to be pointing to DB service to store the data. So I'm saying WordPress database located inside this service, so DB. So what's going to happen is during the initial setup process, it will look for service called DB, and it will find one here, and it will link this database to this WordPress. Then we specifying that WordPress needs to use user with the name user to connect to that database, and the user pass will be user pass. If you're setting this up for production environment, I highly recommend to change password to something more secure instead of just using user pass. And then we're telling that WordPress that you need to look for database by the name WordPress to store your data. Next is database. We're going to use official MySQL Docker image with the latest tag, latest version. I'm specifying what container name I want to have. In this case is WordPress _DB. I'm already added the path where it needs to store its data. The MySQL will store its data on the host side. Same situation here with restart. I want this container to be always up and running. And then we specifying environment. So I'm telling that MySQL, you need to, by default, MySQL creates a user root, and I'm just specifying what root password will be. In my case, is root pass. Obviously, for your production environment, I highly recommend, I encourage you to change this to something more secure. Then I'm instructing MySQL to create a database with the name WordPress, same as we used here on the line 17. Then I'm instructing MySQL to create a user with the name user, and MySQL user password will be user pass. So these three lines, values, WordPress, user, and pass, needs to match exactly what you typed here: user, WordPress, and user pass. And the last one is phpMyAdmin. As I said, this is not required to use WordPress. For WordPress to run, you just need database and a WordPress. But this one is like an extra feature for you to have if you need to log into a database and check raw data. So we're going to use official phpMyAdmin version, and we're going to use the latest version. I'm specifying that container name should be WordPress _phpMyAdmin, and it depends on DB. Same situation it was with the WordPress container. The phpMyAdmin container will only be created once database container gets created. Restart always, same as other two. I want this container to be up and running all the time. And with the ports, as phpMyAdmin exposes its service on port 80 on the Docker side, and port 80 should be on the left side, but as port 80 is already being used by WordPress, I just changed from 80 to 81, as 81 is free. So I changed to 81, and this is going to be a port that I can access phpMyAdmin web GUI. And with the environments, I'm telling phpMyAdmin that you need to connect to database behind the service name DB, which is going to be all that. And you need to use a username root, which MySQL automatically creates by default. And I'm specifying that the root password will be root pass, which should match whatever you entered here on the line 27. And pretty much that is it. This is all Docker Compose file. So if I keep scrolling down until I see a big blue button saying deploy the stack, and we'll press that. Now I just need to wait for Portainer and the Docker go and fetch 3 images, the WordPress, MySQL, and phpMyAdmin. Once images are downloaded, the containers will get created. So I'll come back when all this is done. And here we are. I have my WordPress containers up and running. Before go any further, if I'll click on Portainer, the menu images, and you will see that phpMyAdmin uses 500, or phpMyAdmin Docker image is only 561.7 megabytes. The MySQL is 586.2 megabytes, and WordPress is 685.6 megabytes, 685.6 megabytes. So it's less than 2 gigabytes only in images. So you can have a WordPress running on something like a Raspberry Pi. All free containers, all free Docker images, all these free containers you can set up on ARM64 CPUs. So Raspberry Pi is supported. So instead of running on a massive data center machines, computers, etc., if you own a small business and you need to have your own website powered by WordPress, that's all you need to do is just get yourself a Raspberry Pi, preferably USB drive, to store the operating system, not micro SD, because micro SD will not outlast the USB drive. USB drive is more rigid for read and writes, or better if you attach, let's say, something like a NVMe drive, buying a Raspberry Pi hat and attaching NVMe drive, and then you can self-host your own business website powered by WordPress, just running off Raspberry Pi. So let's continue checking how everything works. So first thing, let's go and check, for example, how the WordPress logs showing. So if I click on this, so let's go back again, I'll show you one more time. If I go on the WordPress and click on this icon, it will give me the WordPress logs, so I can see that WordPress started but haven't found any files inside its location on a Docker site, so it copied the fresh default install of the WordPress. Once that is done, it checked if a WP config file is not found, so it created one, and using the variables we provided for database name, username, password, and etc. If I go back to stack, WordPress, and if I click on a DB, I can see the database went and get all initialized and done. If I scroll up a bit, actually let's turn off the auto scroll or auto refresh. I can see that everything gets created. I don't see any errors, so everything is okay. And if I go back to stack and click on a WordPress YT and look for phpMyAdmin logs, I'll do auto refresh off. There was 2 lines showing up here that there was no connection done, because once the database container got created, the WordPress and phpMyAdmin containers started being created as well. But database required extra 15 to 20 seconds to get everything sorted, initialized. That's why there are 2 errors or 2 lines showing up that it could not connect, because during that time the database container was created but wasn't fully initialized to allow connections from phpMyAdmin and the WordPress. So if I go back in the stacks, click on a WordPress, and if I slide all the way to the right, I can click on this port number and I will access the WordPress, or I can open a new tab and enter IP address of my WordPress instance. So in my case it's ending 75, and here we are. We've been presented with initial WordPress setup process. I need to choose a language. As you can see, there's a bunch of languages you can choose from to suit your country. So if I go all the way and look for English UK, I click on that, and if I scroll down, I'll find the button continue. And next I will be presented with the welcome screen, which says welcome to the famous 5-minute WordPress installation process. Just fill in the information below and you will be on your way to use the most extendable and powerful personal publishing platform in the world. So let's provide the name. I will call this self-hosting lab. Username is going to be Mr. P, and technically it's not yet the actual username. What you're specifying here is the admin login name. So in my case it's going to be Mr. P. The password I'll change to something simple for me to just enter for this demo, but for you, while you're creating the WordPress in the production environment, I highly recommend to create something better than this. As soon as you will see strong string text showing up here, it's all okay. I'm just gonna put ABC, 123 ABC, just for the demo. And as you can see, it starts complaining that the password is very weak. That's why I need to click this tick box to confirm that I'm okay to use a weak password. And if you're setting up this in a production environment, you need to enter the valid email address, as this email address will be used by WordPress to send the information. So the WordPress will send the information to that email address about potential security breach, all the plugins that needs updating, all the updates that needs to be done. This email address will be used as an admin email address, and you will start receiving all notifications. For the demo purpose, I'm just going to use a@a.com. And if you're setting this website for just for you to tinker around, but you still will allow public access to this website, let's say to your friends or colleagues or something, just to go to this website and just check how the progress happens, but you don't want that website to be appearing as a search results inside, let's say, Google or Bing. You need to tick this box to discourage search engines from indexing this site. And I will click install WordPress, and here we are, WordPress installed. It's telling me that WordPress has been installed. Thank you and enjoy. And there is my username and a password that I chose. So I'm going to click on the login, and I can enter my username or root name. So in my case is Mr. P, and a password, as you can see, is 123 ABC. And I click login, and I will be presented with the WordPress admin dashboard. And at the time of recording this video, right now it's running 6.6.1, the WordPress version. Quick press dismiss, and this is the admin dashboard. So you can go and start tinkering around on this website, creating pages, creating posts, uploading videos, images, etc., etc. There's a bunch of videos online on YouTube, people showing you how you can customize this website to almost look nothing like a WordPress. As this video is only focused to how to self-host WordPress website, I will stop at this point. I want to show you one more thing. Let's say you want to learn how to use a WordPress, and you're going to start tinkering around, messing around, and suddenly you break the website. You don't really want to go and start stopping this stopping this, all these free containers go inside the terminal and deleting all the entries inside the database and a website. You want to tinker around in a safe environment. If you've messed up, you just click the button and you want to go back, let's say go back in time and start tinkering again. There is a very useful plugin that I recommend for you to install if you want to go and start tinkering around with the WordPress. If I click on the plugins, I will be presented with the plugins that are currently installed. These two are getting always installed by default. If I click on add a new plugin, I will present you with a list of plugins that I can install, and there is a bunch of them, thousands and thousands of plugins you can go and install. One particular one I'm talking about is called WP-staging. If you search for that, you should see this result showing up. This is a WP staging WordPress backup plugin, migration, backup, and restore. And as you can see, the rating is 5 stars, 2,317, and it's installed more than 100,000 times. So I'm just going to click on that, and it's just installing a plugin. It's easy as the same as you install app on your smartphone. Once it's installed, there is a button activate. I will not click that. I'm just going to click back on the plugins, and I'll show you that it's showing up here in the list. It has been installed, but it's not activated yet. You can install, you can press activate as soon as it's been installed, or you can go and activate it later. So I'm going to click that to activate. Alert, crucial security. This is just find welcome messages and stuff. Pretty much the WP staging is free to use with some limitations. If you want to have all the features, you need to go with the Pro. But for Home Lab users, the free version is enough for you to start tinkering around. So right now on the left hand side, I have a new option which says WP staging, and below that right now is showing a couple of more extra options. I can click on staging sites, and right now I can click on a create a staging. But before going any further, I want to show you a bit more about the phpMyAdmin. If I click on a Portainer and I scroll down and look for phpMyAdmin, as you can see, I chose port number 81. So if I go in a new tab, enter the IP address of my Docker instance, semicolon 81, press enter. I will be presented with the phpMyAdmin web UI, which is automatically connects to the database of WordPress database. On the left hand side, first 4 database names are created by default. It is information schema, MySQL, performance schema, and sys, and the last one is WordPress. If you chose the database name to start with, let's say letter A, it's obviously going to be at the top, as is A to Z. So right now, if I click on a WordPress, these are the tables that WordPress uses to function. In total, right now, as you can see, we have 12 tables, 200 records that are 2.1 megabytes in size. If right now I'll go back to my WordPress UI, the admin dashboard, inside the WP staging size, if I click create staging, and let's name this staging underscore site, there's an option for me to choose which tables I want to use or not. I'm just going to leave everything as it is by default. Same with the files. I want to use these 3 folders, and I will click create or start cloning or create a staging site. As this is a default WordPress install, it will take no time to create a staging site for me. And here we are. I have created a staging site. This is a link to that staging site. Scroll down a bit and click on a close. And right now I have staging site here. I can create another one if I want to. Let's say it's going to be stg underscore 1. Start creating, and it's creating another staging site. So right now I have 2 staging sites. If I close that, I have staging site and I have stg1. Let's say I want to mess around with this version of the website. If I click on this link, I will be taken to a page which asking me to enter as an admin. As by default, staging site created by WP Staging requires admin password. So I'm going to log in, and right now I'm inside a WordPress website, which is as a staging website. It's indicated by this orange line. As if you can see, if you logged in to your main WordPress site, it is a black line at the top. So right now I can go and mess around with this website. I click in admin panel. Let's say I go to media. I don't have any media. Let's go to pages. I'm just going to go move to bin and delete all these pages. If I go back to the front end, there was a sample page. Here we go. As you can see, it's a sample page here on the main WordPress that we created, but it doesn't exist here anymore. I messed up, something doesn't work. I can go back inside admin panel of the WordPress under WP Stagings, click on a staging site, and let's say I don't want to use that. I'm going to delete, and it's telling me, do you want to delete all this information? I'm going to say yes. And right now, let's say staging site has been deleted. I can go to the staging site and mess around. Let's go in there. 123 ABC. I go in there. As you can see, there is a sample page. I click on the admin panel, go into pages, click and select all of them. I will just delete all that. Go back in our home page. Sample page doesn't work. Again, I messed around with the WordPress. Something doesn't work. I want to start all over again. I can click on action and can say update. And what it does, it will update the website with the current state of your official or of your main WordPress website. So let's wait for this to finish. Here we go. I can go back inside. I think no, let's go back and click on this link. It's asking me to log in as an admin again, 123 ABC. And as you can see, sample page back, so I can go and mess around. So this way is much easier and simpler to go and mess around and learn the WordPress instead of messing up big time in your main WordPress instance, and then you have to go and mess around with the Docker containers and files via terminal to delete them and update them and run the containers again and again. You set up one WordPress instance inside your home lab, and then you can go and mess around as much as you want. Now let's go to the phpMyAdmin. Before we had 12 tables. If I'm going to refresh, right now I have 24 tables. Because WP staging plugin takes all the tables and duplicates them, adding a different prefix at the start. As you can see, the original one, it says WP links, where the staging side it says WP staging STG0 links. STG0 means it's the first staging site has been created. If you create another one, it's going to say WP STG1 _ links, and so on and so on. So it just duplicates everything in the same database, so you can compare. Let's say you can click on the WP links, have a look what's in there. You can click on the staging version and you can compare the data between. And pretty much that is it. This is how you set up WordPress inside your home lab using a WordPress Docker container, or MySQL, and the phpMyAdmin. I hope this video is helpful. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing or at least click like button. And like always, I will see you in another video. Goodbye.